We're live. Ian is excited. About to be live on Rockfin as well when that little red button is clickable. I am working on a technological shortage here today. My mouse, this one, battery went dead right before the show. And apparently I have nothing else in this house that uses AA batteries. It's all AAA. And I tried to put the AAAs in there, but you can't. They don't fit.
No, they don't fit.
They don't fit.
They don't fit. You know, they make a J-size battery. Isn't that crazy? J.
A J-size battery?
A J-size battery.
Like a dolphin's penis.
Yeah, it looks, well, it's not a J-shaped battery.
Oh, a J-sized battery.
Yeah, it's just like J-size.
What
like
size is that?
AAA or, AA. It's like a flat battery, if I remember correctly. I had to use it one time.
Yeah.
One
They
time.
have a Michelle Obama size battery.
Yeah, the big old vibrator.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes for these industrial size, battery powered.
Yeah, it's like a mortar.
Yeah, it's it's an asteroid coming through. Yeah. Wrecks your butthole.
Oh, gosh.
If you're Obama.
Probably had that prolapse going on.
And that's what we're not afraid to go blue on a Saturday.
No, not.
Right
no,
away.
put your kids to bed. We're talking
your kids
about
aren't tuning
prolapse.
into this.
Put your kids to bed.
Here's some wholesome news because
Yeah.
it's not happening.
We're talking about prolapsing Obamas tonight.
And asteroid-sized trans peenies. That's right. I call it a peenie, dude. All right, here we go. I'm going to talk about my experience yesterday at the Georgia State Elections Board meeting, which has been all over the news the past couple of days, and also my experience, what's up, Forrest Mommy, outside of Kamala Harris's rally in Georgia. You knew that Kamala was going to be in Georgia yesterday, right, Ian?
Me?
Yeah, did you know?
I had no idea.
Right.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think everyone knew she was going to be here, but nobody knew where she was going to be, right? Isn't that always
That is
the
exactly
catch?
how it goes. And that is what I learned, actually something that's very frustrating, not just for me, because I want to go evaluate if anything they tell us about her is true, but it's also frustrating for Harris supporters that would actually go to her events if they knew the date or the time and the actual location where they are. Forrest Mommy says that she came in right at prolapsing, which is often something that happens, I think, for you. I don't know who that happens for often, but if you're watching this show, that might happen quite frequently, as that's a topic we love to hit. But these supporters show up to her rally. There's very few of them that showed up because I and some other guy with a camera were like the only people that were outside. But when they showed up, they walked up to the security, who might as well have been asleep. They were just lounging around on chairs and like leaned back with their sunglasses on. It's like you go knock on your boss's door, and he's like, "Don't talk to me." They just like, "Hey, how do we get in? Can we get tickets?" And they said no. And this was probably about 30 minutes before it started. And they said everybody is pre-screened and pre-approved. And one of the ladies, and I'll play you a clip of her in a sec. In fact, I can play that now. It's kind of hard to hear, but you can hear them complaining a little bit about it.
Right.
Here it is. This is a group that walked up, and the footage is. I had my camera. I was holding it down because everybody was looking at me suspiciously because I was holding a camera rig. So I had it recording, and I just held it down to the ground. So I looked like a real creep if somebody saw it. That's like my worst fear. So I had it hold down to the ground by my side. But if somebody like looks down at it on the other side and they see it rolling, they're going to go, "What are you trying to get an upskirt shot?"
Yeah, you're doing
like,
upskirt prolapse photos.
Like all these 300-pound women walking up. I want the upskirt prolapse photo. It's not at all what I was trying to get. But unfortunately on this one, you get a little bit of somebody walks into frame in a very I wish that they hadn't walked in with it's just you'll
Bad
see what
timing.
I'm talking about.
Okay.
You don't see anything, okay? So it's not anything creepy like that, but it is a little bit.
Gotcha.
Right.
She walks. She.
You walk right
steps
into my camera
over
shot, you fat lady, is what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Okay. Right up. And you just went right up her skirt because she got in the way.
Yeah, the fat lady wearing a skirt to Kamala's
Is that
event.
what you did?
Yeah, right, yeah. No, yeah, it's just
I don't want to
super-
watch any of your upskirt videos.
That's
tonight.
what we're doing today. We're watching upskirt videos of fat Kamala supporters. Welcome to tonight's show. Prolapsed buttholes and upskirt Kamala supporters that are 300 pounds. Here is the Harris supporters walking up, and if you can't hear it very clearly, I'll tell you what they said. Let me pump this up a little bit.
You need a band for a show like this. We need a band. We need to start.
We should get a band.
We should do a Saturday night. We should do a Saturday night show at Josh's studio, and get some live people in there. We'll do that. We can do that.
We're not going to see a fat chick, JW. No, that would be fun. All right, here it is. Really hard to get info. It was. In the future, how would we even know there was pre-screening?
Time to do it and where you go.
I spent time trying to call.
We do too. We just yesterday, every day.
I spent time trying to call.
We called the venue, called the phone number, email, and nobody answered anything. So we didn't know how to.
Actually, I think I cut it off before the food.
Wow. Now, was the security? Were you talking to specific Kamala security, or
yes,
was this
they
venue
were
security?
So this was, I believe, Kamala security that we were talking to.
Okay.
And if I think I didn't ask him. I walked up and I was just kind of leaning against the wall, and I made sure the camera was recording because I heard them. They were having this conversation for quite some time, and they said that they attempted to find out when this was happening from the campaign. They attempted to find. These people spent a significant amount of time and effort contacting who they thought might be able to help them just to find out when it was because they wanted to go to it. And they were rare. It was not many of them. There's maybe 5 or 6 of them that were in there, but they were upset about it. And they were talking to this security. And then they went up to, there was a couple other people they went up to talk to as well. And they asked, how can we know in the future?
Right.
Because we've been trying to go to her rallies. They talked about Georgia State. And we can never get any everything that I've been talking about on Twitter and on the show about how they do not tell you the time and the location. They were talking about. And I saw people in the replies of the AJC article about her coming here. Yeah, can you please tell us the time and location? Because you never do. And the AJC writer who reports on this knows exactly the time and location because he's on the bus. He's on the press bus. I'll show you the buses or the vans here in a second. Because he's the guy I heckled last week, last Tuesday at the Walsh rally, where I saw him get off the van. And I'm like, oh, there he is. I guess he did know when and where it was because he's on the freaking van with them because they had some press pool vans where the selected press, because the guy told me they don't let anybody in who's not vetted and pre-screened. Anybody who's going to challenge them, they do not let in. And so these people were turned away, and they were given no information. Nobody would help them. Nobody would help them even know how
and I
to
like
find
the question. Out. Right, exactly. I could hear them just be like, well, sorry, ma'am. We have hands are tied.
They were hardly even responding to them. They were treating them like...
You could tell that without even seeing them. They didn't even ask why. Why would I have to get pre-screened for something like this?
Yeah, well, one of the ladies came out and she goes, oh, they're to capacity. And this was after this was happening. And I said, and everybody looked at me suspiciously. I think I might have said it a little bit too cynically. I said, how are they to capacity when nobody knew when the event was? And they were like, well, with the pre-screening. I'm like, oh, the pre-screening to capacity. Now, you hear the Cobb Energy Center, which is where it was.
So the parking lot was packed, right? Just filled with cars.
The parking lot had cars in it.
Okay.
The venue size, okay, so there's some multiple venues at the Cobb Energy Center there. There's also a ballroom. So there's a ballroom that's much, much smaller. That's where the event was.
Gotcha.
And it doesn't hold, I think, 800 people max, depending on the type of circumstance. 600, 400 people.
How you arrange the chairs.
Yes, and whether you have barriers or booths or whatever. And this is from the AJC, actually. This is inside.
They dip people in pre-screening fluid, maybe?
The pre-screening fluid, it lets you know. I'll tell you,
Yeah.
I found out some of the. I'll show you the few videos that I did, and I did ask some people who were walking out because I got some footage of people leaving.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, not a lot of enthusiasm at all. It looked like people could have laid down on the street and fallen asleep after that. Everybody there was
We
just
should
like,
go
oh,
to one of
this
these
again?
events. I want to go to one of these events and hopefully we just don't get in. I want to ask, what are you guys looking for in the pre-screening? I don't have COVID.
Right. Well, I got a pretty good idea what they look for in a pre-screen. That's a good question to ask too. They won't respond. Like,
I know, that's
the
crazy.
people weren't
They're
even
kind of like these
responding.
Scientologist guards. You know, you ever seen the Scientology guards?
No, I
Just
don't
like
think so.
Oh, go down that rabbit. Do yourself a favor and pour yourself a cocktail and go down a Scientology security guard rabbit hole on YouTube.
What if I end up becoming a Scientology security guard after that? That's my biggest fear.
That's your biggest dream.
My fear. My biggest fear.
Your fear is
like
to realize your dream.
right. Exactly.
Yeah, well, everyone's
a
afraid to
Scientology
realize their
security
dreams,
guard.
Brad. You know, they could disintegrate before your eyes. It's happened to me 3 or 4 times.
People have disintegrated before your eyes, or dreams?
No,
have?
your dreams.
I was like, what? All right, so this is outside. So the way that I figured out when the rally was, 'cause I don't think I told that full story, was they told us in the news, the AJC did, and obviously they're not going to tell you when or where, which is like, why report on it? Why are you making a big deal about this and then telling nobody where, even though everybody who reads you is asking? So I found no information the night before. The morning of, while I was at the Georgia State Elections Board meeting, waiting in a long, long line, trying to get on the public comment sign-in, I was looking up stuff about it, and I decided to email somebody or contact somebody that I know who I thought might have some information. And they told me it was in Cobb County. So knowing it was in Cobb County, not Atlanta, like the media was reporting, it's different. It changed the way that I was searching, and I was able to find some itinerary on a random website that said that Kamala was landing at Dobbs at 2:20 and that she would be speaking at 3:20 somewhere in Atlanta. That was conflicting, the Atlanta part, because I was told Cobb, and so it made sense to me that it'd be in Cobb because they were landing at Dobbins Airport instead of downtown, which Waltz did, because they got to stay nearby so they can get in and out quickly. And then you start thinking about venues that are nearby that place. And so, like, the probably the smart choice is going to be the Cobb Energy Center.
Sure,
if
that's
you're
where
thinking
they're going
Dobbins.
to go.
I then went on Instagram and I went to a couple accounts using through some searches, and I found it again. So I told you, I guess I should look up what this is called. But on Instagram, you have people's posts, but then you also can like hover on the profile picture sometimes, or even click on it or whatever, and it shows like a Rolodex of like photo things that have messages on them or photo. I don't know what that's called, but
On
it
what?
shows
This
things
is on X?
No, this is on Instagram.
Oh, Instagram. Okay.
Yeah. It shows things on there that aren't posted sometimes on the profile.
Oh, you're talking about their little like highlights.
I guess it's the highlights.
Yeah, like
I don't
right
know.
underneath the profile picture that you could scroll through the highlights.
Yeah, it just has like a
you
thing.
can
It just
create
goes
those.
through.
You can create those.
So that's how I found out where the Waltz thing was, and that's also
Okay.
how I found out that Kamala was coming to the Cobb Energy Center. But
Okay.
it wasn't posted anywhere on this profile of this account. And so I was pretty confident that's where it would be based on the Dobbins thing, if that was correct. So that's where I went. And when I got there, at first I was like, is this correct? Because there's nobody here. There was less people in that area than there would normally be on any given day just around the Cobb Energy Center because there's stores and there's a lot of activity around there. But it was a ghost town when I pulled up outside of the police perimeter that I saw forming. So this has to be it, but there's nobody out here. And that does kind of make sense because the police perimeter is going to block things off and make it harder to get in. And since they don't tell anybody, only the pre-screened and pre-selected people would be there. I found out later that the pre-screened and pre-selected people, and I'll tell you who I think who those are. I'm pretty good evidence of what all these people are. They were told to get there at 1:30. I got there around 1:50. And they were seated. That's why I saw nobody walking in or out. Is because they were already seated. And they actually reported where Kamala was going to be a little bit before 2, after the police perimeter had been established and after the pre-screened, pre-selected people had already been brought in and sat down. So they waited until nobody could walk up and maybe get in because a seat is open or something to tell you, here, this is when and where she's going to be. And they told you in the form of traffic's going to be bad in Atlanta. That's how they finally told you. Isn't that, it's so messed up. I don't care about seeing Kamala speak. She says the same thing, and it's obviously very scripted. But there were people who were genuinely, very few of them, upset about this. And you have organizations like the AJC and what's it called? Whatever the local one is. It's something 11 Alive News. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll tell you about 11 Alive's news guy who was a real dickhead at the Georgia State Elections Board hearing earlier in the day. But they know this information, but they don't tell people.
They're told not to tell it. You know that's
well, the AJC is funded by the Google News Initiative, and that's in part of an effort to capture people's minds through local trusted voices by delivering the national mainstream propaganda through local trusted voices, which the World Economic Forum actually talked about a few years ago. I played the clip many times. But this on screen is the vans coming in. Okay. I was walking around and I figured, based on the way the perimeter was set up, I guessed that she would be coming in on this street that I'm standing on. And I was messing with my camera, trying to make sure everything was working right. And so I missed the first part of it, but I was able to capture the back half of her motorcade coming in to the Cobb Energy Center. And this is what I captured. Bus, or van. Those vans all set staffers. Those all set staffers. Van
filled.
Comes the staff 6, 7, 8, press 2, press 3. So those are the press buses that are allowed. So that's going to be the AJC. And then some ambulances come in case she has some alcoholic deteriorate or whatever it's called.
Right.
You see how nobody's on the streets. I'm literally the only person on this street. That's who fills up her events. Little ambulances there. Staff, which there were like 7 buses of. And then press, which there, I think this time, were 3 buses of.
Wow.
Did you see how empty that is? It's empty. It's empty.
Crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah. And I was telling Ian before the show, I couldn't find it right before the show. I'm going to do some comparison videos. But I've seen Trump's motorcade. Now, given Trump, his campaign, tells people where he's going to be.
Yeah.
So people can be outside. I wouldn't care if they said this is a private event that Kamala is doing to talk about how she loves abortion to a small group of supporters, donors, or whatever.
Right.
If they told the truth about it, I'd be like, okay. But the narrative is that she has this groundswell of support and that you can see it in her rallies and her events and the enthusiasm, none of which was there at this event in Atlanta. And even the reporting, this dude inside that I'm about to show you who recorded something was talking about how there was so much enthusiasm, and there was a video of some of the selected people waiting to get in. Even though I saw the little, you know how they make the lines that you wait in to get in? They put like the barriers, and everybody get in line right here behind this gray barrier or red barrier.
Sure.
There was one little barrier, I think, that was put strategically so that it could be filmed. And I saw a reporter from somewhere film very closely. The shots are always very close. They're never broad, because if they're broad, you'll see what I saw, which is nothing. And so they do them close in, film, to make it look like it's more hectic. And it's not even believable when they do it that way. And
it's like a Saddam Hussein support rally.
That's exactly what it is. That's what Kamala Harris's rally should be called, Saddam Hussein support rallies, because they're handled in the exact same way. So check this out. This isn't even me. This is from inside from the AJC reporter. And the AJC will do this from time to time. They will reveal a truth that, so they'll say, like, look at all this great stuff going on. Like, here's what this guy says in this post. But what they're actually showing is how small it is. So Greg Bluestein says, a look at the Cobb County ballroom, and he says Cobb County instead of Energy Center, which is interesting because most people probably don't know is at the Cobb Energy Center. If you say Cobb Energy Center ballroom, you can actually go to the Cobb Energy Center website,
right,
and you can try to plan an event, and it will give you an option to click on the ballroom, and it will tell you the seating capacity, and you will see that 800 is the max, and usually it's 600 or 400. And that's just an interesting choice of language because he knows what it actually was. And he knows the name of the place. Why did he say Cobb County?
Scroll down just a little bit. Okay. I just wanted to see more of the perspective of where he was sitting.
Right. So, you can even see from where he's sitting. This is a very intimate venue.
Mm-hmm.
And he plays 7 seconds here. And the whole speech was a look at the Cobb County ballroom where VP Harris will soon deliver a speech outlining her abortion rights policy. And here's the footage. That's a fucking small room. That's it.
Oh my gosh. Well, they put the room dividers down. Okay,
right.
So you know in these ballrooms, you see along the back wall?
You're exactly
right. They can move those in and out. They just made another wall because they didn't have enough room.
Absolutely.
They didn't have enough
it's like
people.
your school back in the day. They could pull those things open.
Yeah. That's what they did there. They made the room smaller.
And I want you to look at the back wall there. You see how much of that is press? Controlled press. The camera's there. Those were the 3 buses.
Play it one more time. Yeah, there's only about 200 people there at the most.
That is about what I suspected, seeing people walk out. Now, do you see in the background there? I do have a screenshot of this. Here, I'll just take that off and just show you a little bit better.
What's it say?
What's the abortion body count in that room, says Zach. That might have been one of the vetting. Part of that application is you have to show that you've had 4 or 5 abortions enthusiastically to get in.
Yeah.
This was a part of the theme here. As you see this, you can see it in the background of that one, but this is a lot better shot here. Trust women. It's the trust women theme
trust
again.
Them.
Trust them with their bodies. Yeah, so that was a small, intimate room, and despite that, there was reports about the enthusiasm and whatnot. And I can tell you, and you can see it for yourself, see if you see any enthusiasm in this group. Because this is a short video of people walking outside after the event ended. And this is right after it ended. I mean, this is right after, because I specifically got over there as it was ending because I wanted to see if people were running out, going crazy for Kamala, who was there to speak about abortion and basically lie about
abortion's
examples.
Such a fun topic to get psyched up about.
It really is. And the story she tells about, it's such a leap in logic to blame the Georgia abortion bill. There's no actual connecting of the dots.
Stupid. It's just infuriating.
So here you see, can you see that up on the screen? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So it's about 30 seconds of right after the event is letting out. I mean, there were a few people filing out, but not like a ton. So you see, a handful of people. You see all the purple colors?
Yeah.
That's Divine Nine. Those are HBCU Divine Nine sororities.
Okay.
And that's the majority of the people that were filing out. Stuff like that.
Man.
You hear all the enthusiasm there? This is after Kamala Harris's rally, which if you read articles otherwise, you would think was just filled with enthusiasm.
If Kamala said something like, I'm gonna double the number of abortion clinics in minority communities.
Maybe she'd have some.
Everyone would think she was, so great. This so stupid, man. This abortion thing pisses me off.
Well, did you hear the story that she told? The girl, she was
numbers $4 million a year. $4 million a year.
They used
Anyways.
a couple case examples that they're trying to blame on the Georgia bill that they say is one of the worst
Both
in the
of
nation.
them, and both stories were bullshit.
One of them was something like, well, a girl wanted to have an abortion. She was forced to drive to North Carolina where she was
And
given
obtain
a
a
pill.
legal one. Right.
And
then
she,
Fulton County fucked up by not seeing her.
right. And then there's a lot of holes in the story
Yeah.
that make no sense.
Yeah.
And it's basically like, therefore, Georgia abortion bill is blamed. I mean, there's actually no connecting through line in the story.
No. It's just that she did it while the abortion bill, after the abortion bill. So that's what they're going to blame it on.
That's the through line.
Yeah.
Right there. So
Not when they play whack-a-mole with, live birth abortions.
right.
Get it!
Right.
Get it!
I played that at Chuck E. Cheese once. I couldn't get any of them.
Yeah, it's all the abortions that pop up. They love me. You got to hit it
Right.
with a hammer.
If you don't hit any of them, there's the little foster babies running around
Yeah.
the Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, all the foster kids work there.
Right. Yeah. Right. They either grow up and get jobs there, or they're put in that machine where you can pick toys or babies out of.
Yeah, they just.
I'm a ball polisher. I make sure these balls are real shiny for the kids that are loved.
Yeah. Right. I'm a failed abortion. They always say. I'm like, all right, just come on, just let me get some cotton candy or whatever.
Yeah.
So the people that are at her rallies, based on what I've seen on the ground and what I've actually seen the AJC do in their reporting, are the friendly journalists they're probably funded by the Google News Initiative, just like AJC is, says whatever they want. 3 buses of those were brought into this one that I saw. I might have missed some of them. Staffers, which there's usually like a dozen buses full of staffers.
Those
So
are
how
like
many
the priests and priestesses?
Yeah, some priestesses, definitely. Those were probably, I would say, 15-seat buses.
Yeah.
I would say. So I would be
Yes.
willing to bet that that's over 60% at least of that audience that we saw in that small room with the divider put down, as you
Oh,
pointed
well,
out.
I mean, what? How many buses did you count?
I counted 10, and I
was
got
gonna
my
say,
camera going
just
late.
Thinking back on it, I was going to say about 10.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah,
I missed
150.
some of them. I missed the beginning part of the motorcade.
150 of those people, minus the 2 that are sitting out front not talking to people about
Right.
why they can't register.
Exactly.
So 148 people were in there.
Right. So you have them,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have the local politicians, local Democrats who are enthusiastic.
City
for-
council members.
Right. Who they're brought in,
Mm-hmm.
and they're usually on a bus too, or a van. And so you will see. So that was from the AJC. All of the videos that I've come across of look at everything, look how great it is inside here during her speech, they've all come from either friendly journalists or local Democrat politicians who were given that access to it because of who they are and because they're playing ball. Now, the other ones that are in there, because there were some other ones in there, are, in this case, and I believe the case of Tim Walsh as well, it's pretty obvious, are chosen HBCU Divine Nine fraternity and sorority members. Now, I saw them clearly at this one because they all had their colors on. They were sitting in like packs, or at least it came out in packs. And these are going to be the ones who, it's probably a good assumption they're playing ball if they're in one of those fraternities or sororities, but they're also going to be vetted and pre-selected. And I'm guessing their parents probably donors to the campaign.
Sure.
And then you have the big donors who want to be there. And then you have, because I asked a group, and I asked this group who reluctantly told me, I mean, they just saw me holding the microphone. Usually you hold the microphone, people want to talk to you. But at this event, it was interesting. People saw the microphone, and they were afraid because of, I think, of the privacy that they're probably all in on. I think they probably get in these emails. You don't need to tell
Sure.
people about these events.
Sure.
And so I said, "Hey, did you guys get to go inside?" Like I was envious. And
Like
I
it was a
so
Masonic
wow.
temple.
Yeah, and they said, and they were reluctant about it. They said, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh my gosh." I was like, "How did you guys find out about it before?" And they said, "We found out about the Satanic Temple beforehand because we got an email over a week ago." So they told the public just 2 days before that Kamala would be here, and they actually told the public the actual time and location, like 30 minutes to an hour before her motorcade was going to come. Actually, about 30 minutes before the motorcade, after everybody who had been pre-chosen had already been seated.
Gotcha.
But these people got advance notice saying, if you want a ticket, this is how you get a ticket. Here are the rules. And I was like, well, how did you guys get that email? And they were like, they kind of looked at each other, and they said that they were part of I think it's called the Georgia. Let me check my phone here. So I looked up the thing after they told me about it. The Georgia Postcard Project. Yeah, the Georgia Postcard Project. And the Georgia Postcard Project is a progressive activist group that has, over the past 4 years, in 2020, they wrote 497,000 postcards to Georgia voters on behalf of Senator Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff to get them elected. And actually, they wrote 500,000. And then 400. So they wrote almost 1 million, actually, for those combined. And so 1 million postcards. Now, I looked up the postcard policy, the FAQ. The postcards are pre-written, just like the signs we saw at the rally that you and I went to.
Okay.
You don't get to write your own, because the FAQ is like, I want to write my own signs. They're like, no, we write all the signs. So they're these slogans. Yeah, you dumb idiot. We give you the sign, and you just, or the postcard, you send it to your friend. And in 2022, they wrote another 250,000 for Raphael Warnock. So this is an organization that has earned their right to get advance notice. It's an activist in the bag organization, and probably the ones in charge get to be the ones who select if they go or somebody else goes. And their group, because I tried to join their group. I wanted to find an email. I wanted to become a member of the Georgia Postcard Project so I could get the email.
Sounds fun. Sounds like you might
Sounds
meet
like
somebody.
a lot. I mean, what's funner than just getting a postcard that's already pre-scripted delivered to you so you could then send them to your friends? That is a lot of fun. Yeah, I did not get a vasectomy while I was there, J-Dub. I'm sure they were offering them inside. There wasn't many men there.
Did you get an abortion?
I tried. That's what I said. Is there anybody here who can abort my baby? Yeah, and I was carrying a baby with me. I said that.
It's not too late, is it?
Yeah, it's post. It's still. It's like, you guys keep it, and I got out of there. This group, I tried to get into them, and they said you can't find any information on their site to get in. You can only go to their Facebook page, and it's highly cultivated, and they tell you this. They tell you this on their website. We control who comes into our group. We vet them because we're going to make sure that nobody's going to infiltrate it.
Yeah, we don't want any cult members coming into our cult.
Right. So that, and I did listen. I was just walking around kind of listening to people. That makes up the collection of people who are able to get in to her rallies, which, again, is why if they just said this is a cultivated, they don't have to say that. This is a private gathering. They always say so-and-so is going to speak to a private group of donors about whatever. It's like that, but also look at all the enthusiasm and all the people that showed up for Kamala. That's a lie. It's just not true.
Right. No, we know as entertainers and people who have known venue owners, we know that venue owners will do things like have a small night and claim it was sold out, right? Because of the way they had to seat the chairs or something like that. There's or when they take a picture of the audience for the show,
right? Yeah,
they're doing the same thing. They're doing the
and that's
Saddam
exactly
Hussein.
what this is too. It's like a
shitty improv theater trying to get an audience.
And it's for them. It's for PR, I think.
Yeah,
I
they
think
just need the photo.
They go around there. They have
on
the donors who win the picture contest. If you donate enough and you pass the vetting, and you get your picture taken with Tim Wallace, you get taken with Kamala, and then they show, look at them with real people at this barbecue restaurant, as though, you're at work serving barbecue in a place near Savannah. It's like, oh my God, there's Tim Wallace.
Just
and Kamala.
two normal people just walked in.
I want my picture taken with them.
Yeah, I know.
It's just like, it's so stupid. And they're like,
It
let's
is
have
so
somebody
dumb.
standing in the background looking like they're just not paying attention.
We need
a
another
real
Trump.
environment.
We need another Trump goes into Chick-fil-A and buys everyone chicken sandwiches
And then
peach
signs the
milkshakes.
tits of the Chick-fil-A
God, that was so
manager,
funny.
like he did at that bar.
God, it was so funny.
Yes.
And you see the chick who flashed at the Trump rally?
I did see that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've watched it many, many times. Is that the same chick that flashed the New York portal?
That's
Some
right.
people
She
think
says
that.
she's been making $100,000 a month since she flashed the portal.
Yeah, call me the
So
portal.
guess what, everybody? Get ready to see some titties.
Right. No, if I ever meet her, she's say, I'm gonna say hi in the portal.
Yeah.
Show me.
Yeah, I just want to I want to make $100,000 a month. I'll show my titties for
I'd love to. Yeah, for $100,000 a month, I will show these bazoongas as well.
Hey, va-va-voom.
Zach says the hospital did give her the DNC. Is that the? I'm not going to make that joke. The DNC. They just claim it would have happened faster at an abortion clinic. She was 9 months pregnant. I didn't know it was twins. Is that the 30-year-old girl who went to Carolina? She had twins.
Yes. And I guess
twins. A double homicide in that case.
Well, it's just
depending on your position.
It's so sad. No, if you go and you listen to, like, there's someone who posted a phone call with an abortion counselor.
I heard that in D.C.
Yeah, and she even says in the phone call, well, it is safer than carrying it to term.
And wasn't she like 8 months pregnant? Or she claimed to be 8 months pregnant.
She claimed to be 8 months pregnant, right?
And she made very clear.
Now I'm gonna play devil's advocate because I listened to that and I don't think the woman on the other end heard that. I don't think she heard because she
you think so.
I'd have to listen to it again, but I want to be fair. I don't think she heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At one point, she said, "So this is common, you guys. This isn't rare that you do that." And she said, "No, it's yeah."
Well, again, and that's where I said I think she was talking about maybe abortions in general.
Just in general, yeah, maybe.
That's where because I don't know.
You should call up, and we should do a thing where you call up and say you're 8 months pregnant.
Oh my God, dude! I used to another story, but the FBI came to my house when I was a kid.
Yeah,
because I made too many prank phone calls, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was one of them. We were calling up the abortion hotline.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I would. The game would be
the hotline. Is that what you said?
This was that's what we would call it. This was before. Oh God, not who are those two fucking Jerky Boys? This was before the Jerky Boys or any of that shit.
Yeah.
And my buddy and I'd call and I'd pretend to be a 14-year-old girl who'd been impregnated by her 35-year-old boyfriend. And
a Democrat.
A Democrat. And I would get them really empathizing with me, and then my buddy would storm into the room and pretend to be my angry mother. And then it would be variety of things. Sometimes he would pick up the other phone. It would just go off the rails at that point. But we called a lot. We called the Poison Control Center. And the joke would always be, my little brother drank something blue from under the kitchen sink.
Right, some bleach probably trumped.
And now he's not breathing. What do I do?
What would they say?
Well, they would always try to tell me to dial 911, and I'd be like, I can't. And then my friend would start making noises in the background. I'm like, okay, he's alive. And we would just make things worse and worse. And the guy would be like, look at the bottle and read what it says. And I'm like, okay, what's it say? I'm like, I don't know. I can't read. So this is what we would spend our summers doing.
I was a big prank caller too. In fact, I think we should get back into just prank calling. But
we should do
the
some
security
prank calling.
though is just so
We
they know exactly where you are. And it's like you
Yeah.
can't toilet paper anybody's house anymore either because everybody's got a ring cam, and they're like, well, "Why are these two adults?"
know, we got one-
papering people's houses.
We got one last one in, didn't we, Brad?
We did. We toilet papered somebody's house. Maybe
that's
10, 11 years
that's
ago.
going on 15 years ago now.
Was it that long ago?
Dude, I mean, we got to do the math. We've been friends for a while. And
It was probably 2012, I would say, or 2011. Yeah, it was a while ago. You're right.
Yeah.
Still, adults doing it, and they don't know who did it to this day. We
this
call what we did. We
day.
actually compromised people on the inside, and we compromised an actual celebrity actor. That you
we
probably
left
recognize.
behind a headshot.
Yeah, I left behind a headshot of what was his name?
Lou Diamond Phillips.
I put a headshot of Lou Diamond Phillips on the windshield of this car because my thinking was, all they'll think about is what's the connection with Lou Diamond Phillips, of which there was none.
None.
And we found out the next day that that's all they were focusing on.
They were
because
focused
of our
on that.
insider.
Yeah. I just remember getting that phone call from the insider who had helped us with that.
Right.
Getting that phone call in the morning.
Nervous.
Well, I had just, she was so nervous. And I had completely forgotten what we had done.
I think we went to a strip club before that, if I remember correctly.
Oh
Was
my
that the same
God.
night?
No, that was a different night. That was for my 40th birthday. That was we were riding around in Stanton's undercover neon
That's right.
green cop car.
Yeah, yeah. That's funny. Zach says he always prank called some random a person because he instantly sent them into rage. Yeah, prank calling could really send people into rage for sure.
Yeah.
It's funny. All right, so Kamala tried out her impersonation of Trump, I guess. Have you seen Kamala going into her act out?
I hope she goes on SNL.
Why have somebody play Kamala when you have such a gifted actress?
Yeah.
Very Obama-like, but Kamala doesn't usually do this, right? But she's in front of this crowd, this very friendly crowd, so she figures she'll pull out the impersonation for the first time, and we can rate
See how
her
it goes.
and see how it goes. I'm not exactly
Okay,
sure.
everybody, I'm about to do an impersonation now.
Yeah,
Now, an
at what point-
impersonation is when I'm not really the person that I'm pretending to be.
she explains what it is to these HBCU kids.
Yeah, I almost wanted to slip into a little Cosby. She's got a little Cosby thing going on,
She
too.
does have a little Cosby. She's like America's dad
Yeah,
mom.
Kamala Cosby.
Have to wait until the patient is at death's door before they take action. You know, on the other side of my, you know, the other folks, Trump and his running mate, and they'll talk about, oh, well, yeah, but I do believe in the exception to save the mother's life. Okay, all right, let's break that down, shall we? Let's break that.
I don't know that was the appropriate time for attempt at a comedic act out.
No, not only that, but this is why they're called a child sacrifice cult, because they are putting this idea that you could have think of all the things you're sacrificing by having this child. You don't get to have the job you've always wanted to have. Being a mother is not satisfying or rewarding at all. It's terrible. It's a prison sentence.
It's that's exactly right. You're free. That's part of the messaging on it. Your dreams. You didn't plan this.
You didn't plan this. It's your dreams. You don't need to take responsibility for that life.
I feel like she's been working on this, and I feel like this is an off-script moment where her speech coaches are going, no, not right after you talked about. You're in the middle of talking about abortion and death, and you're going to go into I think she must have watched a lot of Obama because she went into the folks thing. You talk about these folks on the other side, you know. And who was that an impersonation of? Who was she impersonating?
It didn't sound like J.D.
Obama.
Vance or Trump.
She did an impersonation of Obama doing an impersonation during one of his speeches, is what I can gather from this. Look at her. There she is when she sees Willie Brown walk into the room.
Ooh.
Ooh. That's not a face she's ever made when Doug
Dixie.
Emhoff has taken his pants down. Doug Emhoff has never seen that expression.
Or before they take action, you know.
There she's
on
doing
the
a
other
cocaine
side
bump.
of my, you know, the other folks, Trump and his running mate, and they'll talk about, oh, well, yeah, but I do believe in the exception to save the mother's life. Okay.
People are laughing. People are laughing at it's so awkward. Can you imagine seeing that in an improv show?
I cannot believe the polls are this close. There's
Yeah,
no
the other
fucking
folks,
way.
yeah.
No fucking way.
Yeah, the folks, they talk about, I do believe in the abortion to accept the mother's life. She might as well go, after doing that. That's what I would have suggested as her speech coach is to act like she was blowing two dudes right after she said that. Then
she
go
grabbed
back
both of those mics.
and just shove them both in her mouth at one time. Can I get something bigger out here? Is this too smart?
These are Dougie size.
These are Dougie mics. Let me get some Willie Brown, Montel Williams mics out here. Yeah. Yeah, she likes the black caucus. The white caucus she only marries.
Yeah.
All right. So enough of Kamala. Look at that.
I can't ever get enough of her.
She's such a joke.
I
She's such a drunk.
I've changed my Alexa to her voice. I fall asleep to her.
Yeah, wake up, yeah, wake up, yeah, wake up.
God, I can't take 4 years of it, Brad. I won't. If she wins, I won't be able to do this show anymore because I will not be able to. I'm just gonna have to.
You know what? She is the least. I don't know her personally. She comes off as the least capable leader that I've ever seen in my life. Who's trying to be in a
imagine
position
her
of leadership.
Room, negotiate. She is proof. They probably got mad at Trump because he's like, "What do you mean I don't get to negotiate? What do you mean I don't get to negotiate?" I'm gonna do her impersonation.
Yeah, the other
What
folks.
what do you mean I don't get to? What do you mean I don't get to negotiate? That's what Donald Trump sounds like now.
Yeah, exactly. She nailed it. That speaks to the crowd in the room, though, that comment.
Yeah.
No real crowd is laughing at that in that moment. Only a crowd that's brought in, that's highly cultivated and pre-screened, is going to laugh in that moment. Because what a terrible time to do an act out.
Yeah.
The life of the mother. God, such a dumb bitch.
All right, let's talk about the life of the mother.
She's like, how Chris Rock used to do that joke, which I'm very disappointed. Chris Rock was a part of that Oprah Kamala Harris.
I'm not disappointed. These guys have been, that community has been indoctrinated, and it's going to take a while, I think, for that community to see that these Democrats don't have anything good in store for you.
Yeah. They're part of a brainwashing operation, I think.
Well, that's what I mean. It's been a brainwashing
it's
operation that's gone into their communities.
Yeah.
And it's only in the urban centers. You get out to where I live, in the rural areas, there are black Trump supporters out here, my friend, all over the place.
I mean, I met a bunch of them in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Zach and I were at Trump's outside.
Yeah, but in the urban centers, it's a legacy. They're just devoted to it.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm going to save this clip. I'm going to cut it and save it. And every time I go do a show for the next however long, and we see our progressive friends, I'm going to be like, look how funny Kamala is, and see if they defend this comedic act out. Like, what do you think of Kamala's impersonation? What do you think? Do you think they would criticize it, or do you think they would be like, I do a show with her. Yeah, she's good.
I think they would say, no, she knows her audience.
Yeah, she knows them personally.
She knows her audience. She knows what her audience.
She's met them at every rally she's been to because it's the same group of people that they bring to every single one of them. Yeah, no, her audience thinks that it's hilarious, the life of the mother. Even thinking about that, the audience they love to mock people who think about that. All right, so the other event that I went to, let me step back. Sure, there's rallies in other states that Kamala has that might have crowds of enthusiastic people, but none of them know about it. All of them are pre-screened. So the narrative, which they have created, that there's a groundswell, and this is the term they use, of enthusiasm for Kamala, and therefore it's plausible that Kamala actually is in the lead and that those polls are correct, and it could be close on Election Day. That is the narrative. That seems to me, based on a lot of on-the-ground talking, I mean, even at Dragon Con, asking people Trump or Kamala was about even though the video I put out shows the Kamala people because they were the most retarded ones.
Well, there were other. There's always a football game going on. Like isn't it always like?
Yeah, the football people were barking at me. The Georgia
football
people
were always like. That's always.
They saw me
great.
and they instinctually barked at me.
There's like Dragon Con and like Alabama fans all in the same hotel that weekend.
Right. The sex that they never spoke of ever again. There must have been so much of it.
So funny.
There is not truth, at least in Georgia. And Georgia's a swing state, and they're spending a lot of time in here. I mean, this is probably the most important state, honestly, the way they're bringing the candidates here.
Yeah.
No doubt in my mind that it's a lie, the narrative. I've seen it firsthand. You've seen some. In fact, the most enthusiasm that I've seen is the thing that you and I went to and infiltrated, which is about 24 people who had been organized to come and do this specific a sidewalk rallying where they yell at cars with signs.
Yeah.
Where at one point in time, Ian and I were the only thing keeping this group excited.
I know, and I found my bullhorn, so the next time we go to one of those,
I love it, dude.
and that guy who was falling down, I can be like, hey, I'll help you out, man.
I got you. I got this bullhorn.
I got you, buddy.
I'm always ready.
I'm always ready.
Rally for Kamala.
Yeah.
And I did go back and look at the footage. I don't know if I said this on the show. I might have said it on an earlier show, but when we were leaving that rally, it's getting a bit off subject. there was a group. They said, go talk to them down over there. And one of the ladies like kind of like waved us down. And we went over there to
I know
talk to her.
exactly
And
what you're gonna talk
she
about.
said, I'm not going to show this clip. I did talk about this, but I think it's worth bringing back up. I'm not going to show the clip.
Yeah,
but
please don't show the clip. It's
not going to.
disturbing.
Yeah,
it's
she-
really disturbing.
She said, you want to know something like you want to know what happens when Trump's in office or whatever. This person knows firsthand, and it was her son. And she told us to go talk to her son and ask him about something. And she said it in a way that made me believe that if I walked over to her son, who was in a wheelchair, and I said, well, tell us what do you think about whatever, that he was going to respond. And when I did that,
Right, and he responded as Stephen Hawking would.
he responded in a way that made me believe that he was not comprehending any of the conversation going on. And that it-
Absolutely, he did not know. I mean, and I'm sorry, I don't want to step on. You were saying the most important part of what the mother said. I don't want to.
She said that he's
reveal it.
registered to vote.
Right.
Yes.
So she wheels him right up to that computer monitor. I have to help him. I have to. He's kind of.
Because she sent us over there. Then she walked. Exactly. She walked over to him after I put the mic in his face and asked him, because she led me to believe he was going to respond.
Yeah, I really wish he had said Trump.
And she told him what to say.
Yeah.
And he looked at her and then repeated what she said.
It was
And
sad.
That made me think he didn't choose this Georgia Bulldog shirt either. She put it on him. He could be a Tech fan, for all we know. And his hair was dyed green. I don't think he chose it. But I was torn about that. So, not to go too deep on that, but my mom was in a wheelchair, and a lot of people often assume she didn't comprehend what was going on, but she did.
Right.
And so I was thinking about that a lot. I was like, was this kid really, maybe he was reacting?
No, he
could
probably-
comprehend.
Yeah.
I don't think that he
Could.
did, though, like watching it back. I think that the mom, and she probably believes she's doing the right thing.
You can
in a
see it in his
convoluted
eyes.
way.
There was nothing in his eyes.
I didn't see any. Yes, I did not see any, and that is exactly where you look. Like you look in the eyes. I didn't see any comprehension. I feel bad for the kid. I feel bad for the mom too. And somebody led her to believe that she needs to bring her kid out to exploit this. And this is the type of activism the Democrats, the progressives do. You saw it at the DNC. They brought all these handicapped people out, and it was very awkward.
Well, over by and they do this better than Republicans do. Over on my side of town, standing in front of a neighborhood of like $600,000 homes, right? There were some Trump supporters, standing on the corner right in front of their neighborhood, waving some Trump flags, like 8 of them. I'm like, yeah, everyone here is like, everyone out here is already voting Trump, man. Like,
Right.
This is 88% Trump country out here. I guarantee it.
Right. There were a handful of Trump supporters that were protesting Tim Walz's rally at Georgia Tech. I wish I had thought about asking them how they knew, because somebody there was able to get the information I did, and they were able to get a handful of people there to protest. And I wish I should have thought about, but I had the White Dudes for Harris shirt on, and one fat lady, like the Trump supporter, like pointed at me and our friend Jocelyn. And so we decided not to go. In fact, a couple of them came over and started talking to us, and actually some of the best footage we got was talking to them, because they were super nice to us when they came over to talk to us.
Of course.
Yeah, but we were a little reluctant to go over there until afterwards, and they had been dispersed. But they were over there, and I comment in some of the footage that I was a little disappointed in their creativity, because they would think the motorcade was coming in, they would start chanting "Stolen Valor," stolen. None of the other people there, which there weren't really anybody else outside. The only people outside were them, me and Jocelyn, and people getting off of work trying to go get their baby across the street or get their car so they get their baby.
That was the wild one, man. When you told me that there was a mother who couldn't get to her baby.
Yeah, probably a Harris supporter
Like,
before
they
that.
probably were like, well, why'd you have it?
Yeah,
Look at all you sacrificed.
should've
You
killed
can't even
it.
get to your car.
I was like, well, you can still kill it. It's still abortion. If it dies, it just call it abortion. Was it 3? yeah, you got plenty of time. Don't worry about it. It's not over 5, right? It's just it's late term. It's late
Yeah,
term.
can I have an abortion after 36 months?
Yeah. She's like, but I love my baby. It's like, them folks over there, you sound
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. You sound like every other like mother I know. I love my baby. I love my baby. Give me my baby back.
Yeah, the life of the baby and the mother, whatever. Yeah, give me my baby back. I've heard that one a lot. No. No, says the doctor.
Oh, this baby? No.
Yeah. Blood, oh, you can have it back now. Yeah, that's
so gross. so disgusting.
It's Saturday night.
No. I'm fine with the content. Like, I think the only way to have a conversation with people who are addicted to euphemisms is to talk about the fact that no. Actually, what they do is they take a giant needle and they inject something right into the baby's heart, and
you
they
said
let it.
Euthanasia.
Yeah, it's euthanasia,
Oh,
baby-nasia. It's all kind of nasia, fetus-nasia.
Right.
They do some fetus-nasia. They inject it right into its heart. They let it die inside the womb first. Then they break it up into pieces. That's what happened to that girl from North Carolina. All the pieces didn't come out.
Well, the Roomba does that, so you don't.
And she had
Doctors have to
septic.
do it.
What's that?
A Roomba cleans it out, so the doctor doesn't have to use a handheld.
Right. And then she got sepsis or whatever and died.
Which look, and
it's sad.
It's sad.
It is sad.
But they don't actually connect the dots to the law.
The whole
which
thing
tells
is
me
about-
they can't, because what they do, because they brought the mom and the sister or something to the Oprah Kamala rally the other day, and this is what they do. They've done this for a long time. I discovered the use of this tactic with the Kavanaugh protest that were arranged by Linda Sarsour back a few years back.
Oh gosh.
Because they, in this article where she's doing an interview talking about how they planned all this before they even knew who the nominee was going to be. And you find out that they go to all these activist groups they have around the country, and they simply find somebody who agrees with them and is as passionate of an activist as they need, who has some sort of loose connection to them. And if Best Offs has an actual direct connection if they can find one, but somebody from that same town or went to the same school, and then they get that person to be the spokesperson, the representative, to deliver this agenda talking point, and then they take that person and they craft the story based on some sort of kernel of truth they can find. And they then put this forward as this damning story or whatever to push the agenda, when the fact is it's being told from the point of view of a family that is, one, sad they lost their kid, two, probably was already on a list of strong Democrat supporters and donors who they knew would play ball, and three, is okay with this. Or I don't want to say this family was okay with maybe the story being stretched, but people who lose someone, especially in this case, look for blame.
Sure.
And you get these manipulators who can go in and talk to somebody who already hates Trump and say it's that. Here's the fault.
Listen to how they're using your kid's name.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
And they get them riled up, and
that's exactly what they do. And the fact that the story is this weak when it comes to the connections, but they will be using this reference until the election, and it doesn't matter how weak the connection is. This will be the main story.
Yeah, no, it's just going to be murder versus murder. It's going to be this girl versus Lake and Riley. You know,
right.
It's
murder at the border versus murder at the womb.
Yeah. And murder at the border, I mean,
murdering the pets versus murdering the babies.
I have less control over that. A woman, Lake and Riley, had less control over her death than this other girl did. Now, I'm not, again, I do feel bad for everyone involved, but, Lake and Riley was just out jogging.
Yeah, the advice, so if you want to look for blame, and there's going to be a number of consequences or blame where it can be placed or whatever, and you want to be fair about where blame is to lie, I would go further back. I mean, you could go a long way back, honestly, to conception, to who the father might be, to the propaganda being pumped into that person's head, the activists surrounding it, and that's actually what I'm talking about. You want to find some blame. Let's talk about who has been getting in this girl's head leading up to the choice to do this, and the choice to do it the way she did it. And part of the story is that she collapsed or something, and she she was later discovered and taken to the hospital. How long of a period of time was it before she was discovered? Who did she live with? Who was the boyfriend, or who was the person in contact with him? Was there drugs involved? I'm not saying she's on drugs, but I'm just saying there's a lot of questions that an investigation would uncover that maybe because it's such a tragic situation, somebody says, you know what?
Yeah.
We're gonna let bygones be bygones. We're not gonna go any deeper into this. And then they've taken it and they spun it into something that ignores all the other possible or blame that could be shared to put it on one thing and make it political. It's disgusting to me. Sonia says, I blame not using condoms while having sex. You could take it back to raw dog in it, is what you could take it back to. The raw dog.
Use the rhythm method.
What's the rhythm method?
The rhythm method is, you look at the ovulation cycles and you go, okay, we're safe now. We're not safe
You have a
now.
card that says that about everybody that you know?
Yeah.
I need you to tell me your ovulation cycles.
Give me your cycle. You look through it. Moon.
Look, I know this is our first date, but I'm going to need you to go ahead and write down your ovulation cycles.
Brad, I hate to do this, but I got to get going, man.
All right, dude.
And I got to.
I know it's late night. I'm going to stick around and tell you guys real quick about the Georgia State Elections Board meeting that I'm going to get out here too. But thanks for joining me and chatting with me, Ian.
Of course, dude. I have a blast.
I enjoyed
always. And everyone else, it was fun hanging out. I'll see you guys Tuesday night.
All right, later, dude.
All right.
Talk to you soon.
Later, buddy.
Zach says that just F a couch like JD. It is illegal. It's not illegal, excuse me. It's legal to abort whatever the offspring of a couch is in any state. So you don't have to use condoms, and there's no worries about eliminating whatever the product of that consensual act is. Well, is it consensual? I mean, the couch doesn't say no. Tell me no if you don't want me to stick it in your cushions. Your couch never says no, I don't think. But that's a question for JD. Real quick, the Georgia State Elections Board meeting, which I also went to. I went to this in the morning. And so this meeting started at 9 a.m. And these meetings usually aren't widely attended. There's been a couple of them that have been, but because it's such a main focus of the mainstream media to try and demonize the rules and the board and anybody involved with it, like Garland, it has become a big focus of the news. In fact, CBS was there, CNN was there, all the major networks were there, the establishment MSM networks, live streaming it, and there was a long line to get into it. And this is supposed to be open to the public. Now, I got there around 8 or so. Meeting doesn't start until 9, and the doors weren't even supposed to open until 8 for the Capitol. But I was too late. By the time I got there, the line out of the room to watch the hearing was around it was far more people there than there was at Kamala's rally. And I went to go sign up for the public comment thing, and I was 49th out of 50. And they only do public comment. They do the first 30 public comment in the first part of the meeting. And then they have the argumentative section, and then if there's time, and if they allow it, they allow some of the other public commenters who signed up to go comment. I did not get a chance to comment. I left after the first thing because I was going to the Kamala rally, but I don't think they even got to the second half of the commenters. But when I got there, there was a bunch of people in line that had Trump support. There were Trump supporters, you could tell by the shirts. And then there was a number of ACLU people who were there in support of Kamala to speak out against the rules. And there was people of this group that was like something blue. They all had the same shirt on. The place was filled with activists. And what I did was they had these spillover rooms where if you did not get into the main room, you go upstairs and watch it on the TV with a bunch of other people who didn't get in, which is what we ended up doing. I went over and tried to get in as press, and they were going to let me in at first. Here's the thing about doing this. I was going to do this, but I just didn't want to carry a tripod. If you carry a tripod with you to some of these things and you just go up there a little bit earlier and say, hey, I need to set up my tripod inside. I'm with the press. They will look at your tripod and they will go, oh, my gosh, this must be like a legitimate press thing, which I am, but I just didn't want to carry my tripod. And so I didn't do that. And so I watched people carrying tripods do what I knew I should do, go in. But this was like 11 Alive News and some of the other ones. And the girl was going to let me in, but she told me that the wall space was even There's no more wall space. So by not bringing a tripod, and she would have let me in probably about 30 minutes earlier, I screwed myself there. But I don't think I missed a lot by not being in the room, because I actually got the feel of the atmosphere in the other room, which is one of the things I was looking for, is where do people stand on it who have showed up. And one of the funnier things that happened is when I was waiting with other people in the press who weren't allowed in, this guy from, I think it was 11 Alive News or something, he walks up and he tries to go in. They go, no, sir, stop. The room's filled up. And he started going, you're not going to let me in? You're not going to let me in? Yeah, are you really not? He threw a hissy fit and then gets on his phone. He's like, they're not letting me in. Then he goes back over. He goes, I'm going to call my lawyer. Do you want me to call my lawyer right now? I'm with the top news in Atlanta. And at that point, I laughed out loud. And I said, I don't know if I'd be bragging about that, bro. And some of the other journalists laughed with me, because apparently this guy's some asshole who people in the news organization, I don't know who his name is. I just know that he's an asshole. And so he was a big dick, and he didn't have a big dick, probably a little one, but he was acting like a big dick. And he kept threatening to sue. Who's he going to sue? The security guard? Like, who's he going to sue? Well, long story short, they let him in. And I even said before they let him in, I said to the other journalist, I hope these people don't reward the effing dickhead over here who nobody gives a shit about. But they did. He was rewarded for being an asshole. So it's a lesson. Because I actually had a lawyer with me. My sister was with me, who's a lawyer. So I could have pulled the same car, but I'm like, I'm not a jerk. I'm not going to do that. These people are just trying to manage it. It was chaos. It was actually literally chaos in the Capitol. And I didn't want to add to it. Anyway, we go upstairs to watch. And when we get upstairs to watch, there was no seats in there either. We actually had to leave that room after about 15 minutes, or about 30 minutes, not 15 minutes. I was there for a little while. And go to this other room because there were so many people there. And I was watching the way people reacted to public comment. So they get up there and they introduce the meeting, and then they did the public comment. And so the 30 public commenters, before they talked about the new rules, which the new rules being promote voter transparency or election transparency. They try and make it harder for them to steal the election. And I've talked about a lot. Part of this plan to make it able, make the powers that be able to steal the election consist of making Kamala winning plausible, which is where the whole enthusiasm around Kamala, which to me, I've disproven that whole. There's not enthusiasm around her. You have to make it plausible that she'll win. And two, you have to make it easy to steal if you need to steal it, which means branding any attempts of for election transparency, like these rules, or the actual law in Georgia, which they just don't follow. The law in Georgia actually already means you should have to, as somebody who's on the state election board, make sure there's no fraud. But they just hadn't followed it in the past. So these rules kind of bring that forward and establish a few more hurdles for transparent, not hurdles, but hurdles not the best way to put it. Hand counting ballots, for example, is one of the things that passed. And every single commenter that was with the Democrat activist said the exact same thing. Out of the 30 public commenters, I would say, because I did do a little tally count, I don't have it with me, but I think it was 25 were with Democrat activist organizations or the ACLU, and 5 of them were in support of the rules. And they were baffled. The ones in support of the rules were baffled at the resistance to it, because they were like, this obviously makes it more transparent. Or they were like, in my county, we've done hand counts and it's doable, because the main objection by all of these people who were Democrat activists saying the same talking point, which according to the rules of the state board elections meeting, whatever it is, you are not supposed to be able to read something written by somebody else. Yet all of the people opposing the new rules were saying the same thing. They were reading a script they were sent by email, which I got. I knew what they were going to say before I went because I had read the freaking script. And they were all opposing the hand counting rules because the election poll workers are so tired after a long day and the machines are so much better. Why would you want to risk having a tired, overworked poll worker hand count the ballots on an 18-hour day when you can have human error, when you can just shove it into a machine And the machine is so perfect. It was a bunch of people who were poll workers for Democrats and activists who were basically getting up there talking about how afraid of numbers and counting they are. The machine is so much better at numbers and counting, and these radical right-wing conspiracy theorists, MAGA Trumpers, want to inject confusion into it. Transparency is what they call it. They call it confusion on the other side. If somebody there, I told my sister this beforehand, if somebody were playing a drinking game, take a shot every time, because I read the script, every time these people who go up and talk say dangerous conspiracies, dangerous conspiracy theorists, one of those two, in reference to the people who created the rules that they're trying to pass. And nearly every single one of the Democrat or progressive activists called him a conspiracy theorist. It's dark, it's dangerous, injecting confusion, trying to stop the certification of the vote. We just want the election to be certified, was the main message. It was crazy. Tuscan. Did I say Tuscan wrong? Tuscan. The Democrat Party is straight demonic. Straight demonic shithead, says Angela. It was kind of wild, too, because, like, I'm in this room, and I start laughing every time one of these public commenters come up that are just obviously a progressive activist, some of them wearing it literally on their shirt, or they have ACLU, and they're the snootiest bitch you've ever seen. Like this dude who's like, I'm from the ACLU, and I'm going to sue you if you let these rules go through. So just know that. And by the way, dark, dangerous conspiracy theories, you sick Trump MAGA people. It's just crazy. They all said the same thing. But, like, I started laughing in this room every time they said one of these, because I'd written down all of the, I was like, here's what they're going to say, and I'd show it. I was like, look at this. And when they say this, if you have alcohol in this room, which probably nobody did, take a drink. And I would just laugh because they just kept saying everything I had written down beforehand. And it got to the point where people who supported these rules would look at me and they would kind of like, you know, give me a mean look. And then the people, I could tell very easily who supported the rules versus who opposed them simply by laughing at how stupid the comments were when they were repeating each other. At one point, I started going, oh, great point. That hasn't been made yet. Great point, right? Well, long story short, we got kicked out of that room. And we're told to go to another because they said we weren't sitting, which I then went in that other room, and I continued to mock it. And then I left. It was interesting, though, that they were able to organize enough people to get to that state elections board here meeting to fill up 25 out of the 30 first public comment spots and get this message out there. And they do it for clippable stuff. Like there's going to be the news organizations that cut these clips from this meeting and they share them. And every single publication that's written about them has written about this meeting from the point of view of these activists. AJC, obviously. And you can see here on screen where it says, Georgia Republican-led election board okays controversial rule to hand count the ballots. Yeah, ACLU has lost all credibility. There's no doubt about that. Controversial rule to hand count the ballots. It really is extraordinary. Fulton County. So one of the things, I was thinking about what I was going to say if I was able to get up there, which I know I got to get there sooner next time. You got to get there at the crack of dawn, basically. You got to camp out to beat some of these activists, which, again, makes me wonder, you can get the activists here, but you won't tell them where the thing is over there? Or maybe it's a coordinated organization. So Kamala's going to speak here. We're going to get these activists to come sit in the crowd. You activists are supposed to go over here and spend all day at the state elections board meeting. Because to go to the state elections board meeting is, if you're going to stay for the whole thing, you're not going to be able to go to Kamala's speech. So maybe they divided their forces. It's controversial, Angela, because what they said, according to all these activists, is that the poll workers are tired and overworked, and after 18-hour days, to expect them to sit there and hand count all of the ballots, well, there's going to be a lot of human error. And then they say the reason that these right-wingers, which they're not right-wing, Garland Favorito, who's been advocating for hand-counted ballots for years and years, long before Trump, is not right-wing. But they would tell you otherwise. They say It's all designed to cause chaos and to steal the election. One lady actually got up there who was a Democrat representative in another county and said that she questions the motive of anybody who supports these new rules, and she thinks that the only motive is to cause confusion and enable Trump to steal the election. That's why they call it controversial. And all of the media goes with that. Maybe it'll say that. Maybe it'll say it in here. So there's some of the people there. Well, see, they should get more poll workers. You're right. It's funny because the people who spoke in favor of it, which was only like 4 or 5 that I saw, one of them was a poll worker who said, I'm more than happy to count the votes. Actually, I saw 2 of them that were poll workers. One of them, they had actually hand-counted votes in their county, and she said it worked fine. Here's how you do it. It doesn't require a lot of training. It's very easy to hand-count a bunch of paper. The Democrat progressives walked up with a stack. She had an assistant carry a stack of paper. So she looked like a bitch already because she was making somebody carry paper for her. And she goes, you see this? This is 1,000 votes. You think humans can do this better than computers, was basically her argument. And what I wanted to remind people about is that Fulton County, Georgia, the government of Fulton County, was for about 2 months, their online systems were completely inoperable because their computers had been hacked by cyber attackers who controlled the Fulton County government. You could not do anything on the Fulton County government's website for like 2 months. And yet we have a bunch of people saying computers in Fulton County are better than humans. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. The article here says the Georgia State Elections Board approved a controversial rule Friday requiring a hand count of the number of ballots cast on Election Day. So they count the number of ballots, by the way. So it's just you're counting the numbers. And it's not like they do it once. They have ways. One of the ladies actually explained how it worked, one of the few people who were in favor of it. It says Republicans advanced the measure over the opposition of Georgia's Republican Secretary of State. They always say Georgia's Republican Secretary of State. Brad Raffensperger is a controlled operative, okay? Brad Raffensperger is CNN and MSNBC's favorite Republican next to Georgia Governor Brian Kemp. They approved the measure over the opposition of Georgia's Republican Secretary of State and Attorney General and dozens of local election officials who said the last-minute change could cause delays and confusion in the days that follow. Quote, if the board votes to implement this rule, I think that we put ourselves in legal jeopardy, says John Furvier, the board's nonpartisan chair. You notice how they say the board's nonpartisan chair? So, of course, the language they use. So, nonpartisan, every time somebody who was in opposition of it, who was very obviously a progressive activist, they would go up and say, I'm so-and-so from the non-opposition group, stop asshole Donald Trump. It's just like, you're obviously not from a nonpartisan group, bitch. And this guy is saying this because somebody from the ACLU came up and spoke and said that they would sue using the power of the ACLU if this rule is passed. So that's why that person's saying that. These people are bitches. The board's actions in recent weeks have put an added spotlight on the election administration in Georgia, where former President Trump and others advanced baseless claims of fraud, even though they have proven to be problems with the count. Garland Favorito and Voter GA has shown that there have been count outcomes that votes were given to Biden that would have been given to Trump because there was a problem with whatever the administration of it was, and they were supposed to be able to look at the ballots and the counts in other states after proving this, but then the judge got low T, pussy balls, and said, I don't want to touch it, and they found a reason to throw the case out based on procedural and process, which a lot of these people that came up and spoke said all of the legal challenges have been lost by the Trump MAGA people. No, they haven't. None of them were viewed on the merits because the judges don't want to touch them because they're pussy balls. The rule approved Friday mandates the poll manager and the 2 poll officers in each precinct, each count, excuse me, let me start that sentence over. Is that written weird? I just read it weird. The rule approved Friday mandates the poll manager and 2 poll officers in each precinct each count the number of paper ballots in each ballot box to compare with the total generated by the ballot scanner. So you're matching up the number. That's pretty simple. A number of election officials testified, and this is what I'm talking about. These are election officials who are scared of numbers. A number of election officials testified against the hand counts, raising concerns that human error could easily result in discrepancies. And this is what I'm talking about with this Kamala speech and stuff like this. They're looking for these clippable moments that can be presented in news articles and broadcast as testimony or visual evidence coming from real world experts, especially in this case, experts. These people aren't experts. You can tell, like if you were there to see them talk, these are not experts. These are clowns who have been brainwashed or who have another agenda because they have a desire to be in politics in the future. They want to be like Kamala. They want to be like Stacey Abrams. So this is their cause. Whereas Garland has been fighting for election integrity for over 20 years before any of these people, Kamala or Trump, were even on the national radar when it comes to politics. While the rule is about counting ballots and individuals and not individual contest, as some conservatives have called for in recent years across the country, election experts agree that hand counts are far slower and less reliable than machine tabulation. So they're not going to mention that somebody actually came up and showed how the hand counts can be done. And one of the pro-election integrity board members said that in cases where it would be difficult to do it in a night, that they have been granted the ability to continue the counting the next day. They ignore all of that. Election officials are also warned that changing the rules this late in the voting, that was another main. This is all the talking points of people. Everything that the people said, they were fed to by mainstream activists and from the top. And then they say it. They say what they're told to say from the top. Then they say it. Then after they say it, the news media, also from the top, just repeats back what these people were told to say. It's such circular bullshit. It's so circular. They knew, NPR did, what these people were going to say beforehand because they also got the email, but they have the people say it so it looks like it's legitimate to anybody reading this bullshit. And what's this shit up here? Like just these throwaway lines that are unnecessary in articles like this one. Where's that freaking line? President Trump advanced pace. The board's actions in recent week. Hold on. There was a line up here that stood out to me that I should have stopped in the moment. Concerns. Oh, when it said a number of election officials testified against hand counts because they were worried about human error and discrepancies. And then while the rule is about counting ballots, not individual contests, as some conservatives have called for in recent years, well, what is that? What is that extra little level of let's take a jab to try and smear them? I mean, we know it is. This is propaganda. These people are so uncredible. They're not incredible. They're incredible liars. They're very uncredible truth tellers. Quote, over 200 pages of election code and rules have been implemented since 2020, testified Ethan Compton, the election supervisor in Irwin County. I think I remember that guy. We have practiced on them. We've practiced, we've trained, and we prepared. We are ready. Do not change this last second. That's very hard. How hard? So I'm sorry, we've trained you poll workers. We got a little bit of a wrench to throw in the training. Raise your hand if you've ever counted. Has anybody here counted? I know some of you might not have grown up having to count. Anybody here grow up learning algebra? Okay, well, there's something called counting in numbers that usually our machines and computers do much better than us. We're going to have to do that ourselves. Can you believe it? This is what Trump is going to take us back to, the medieval times when people had to count for themselves. And they expect you idiots to do that. How many fingers are on your hands? Raise your hand if you know how many fingers are on your hands. Okay, we have two people. All right, you guys are going to be our elections board counting leaders. Fucking stupid. It goes on to say, we are verifying a set of numbers by using another means. What does that mean? We are verifying a set of numbers by using another means, says Charlene Alexander, a Republican member of the Fayette County Elections Board who co-sponsors the rule. That's all we're doing. Okay, so So they're verifying with the computer. They're verifying what the computers say with humans, is what she's saying. I think she might have been one of the ones who told them how it actually works doing the hand counting, because the Democrats made it seem like it's overwhelming and impossible, and she kind of dispelled that. The change was backed by 3 Republican state board members who have already drawn scrutiny for advancing changes to how local election boards, blah, blah, blah. The Office of the Attorney General is against it, and because he's full of shit. These proposed rules are not tethered to any statute. Yes, they are, actually. They're actually tethered to statutes. Yeah, you just watch Garland. Garland very clearly lays out all of this. But they don't actually, it's so crazy. Nobody challenges them on anything. The board tabled a vote on another rule requiring a similar hand count of the number of ballots cast during advance voting. Janelle King, one of the Republican members, asked to revisit the proposal, along with several others, after the 2024 election. The board voted on 11 total rules changes Friday. 6 of them passed, including allowing poll watchers access to more places during tabulation of votes. Daily posting of the number of people in each county who cast a ballot, and publicly posting reconciliation reports to the county website. All things that promote transparency and make sure there's a constant chain of custody, which the current way the election works there is not a constant chain of custody, despite what they might tell you. Nevertheless, it was an interesting thing to go witness. They're going to get sued. Honestly, I don't know. If some of these rules stick, I'd be kind of surprised, honestly, because they're going to be sued by the ACLU. They're going to be sued by all these other people. Is who related to the Pittsburgh Steeler accused of, you're talking about Brad Raffensperger. No, I don't think he's related to Ben Roethlisberger. You know, that happened but I think I wasn't there at the time, but that happened at the college that I went to. I knew the bartender at the bar where the whole Roethlisberger from the Steelers was accused of rape. And it's another story I can tell for another time. Anyone with 2 brain cells can see through the leftist BS. I agree. Every man says machines are not time or money saving. Counterintuitively. It becomes a black box where results can be obfuscated from auditing. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. You're right. They don't want these rules to pass because it makes it harder for them to steal it. Their names sound the same. They are spelled a little bit differently. He's Raffy, Raffy. At least that's what he says anyway. There's no telling if that's his real name. I think he's a CIA agent, personally. Or an FBI agent who's undercover. Because he has no history. There's no history for this guy online. And the only history he has is the history that you can find from his parents' obituaries. Which the evidence suggests, at least there could be alternative explanations, but if someone's family were a family of CIA operatives, it would look like the obituary of his parents, and it would look like his history growing up right outside of Langley, and his brother going to school in Canada, and then him I think he might have gone to college in Canada, if I recall correctly. And then suddenly he moves down here to Georgia with no real document, you can't really document his history. And he just becomes a politician that works his way up to Georgia's Secretary of State, who's a Republican. He's not from Georgia. He's not a Southern gentleman. I don't care what fake voice he uses. He's not from here. He was sent here. And his call with Trump, which anybody who's listened to the whole thing knows the media's version of the find me the votes. I'll grab you by the bussy, Raffensperger. Whatever. That's how they make it seem like. There was nothing. He was telling him to find votes that he believed, use the resources to identify the votes that we think are there because we believe it was. He wasn't telling him to fabricate votes. It's so obvious. And Raffensperger himself, when asked if he felt coerced, never says yes. He always dodges the question. That phone call is the entire foundation of the January 6th indictment in Georgia. It's such a fraud. It's such a friggin' fraud. All right. All right, I'm gonna do maybe one more thing that I haven't. Let's see. We'll do a smoking gun to get out of here for today. Why not? Why not? Thanks for hanging out on the Saturday evening. Let's see what we got going. See if there's anything interesting on smoking gun to kind of cleanse our palate of this propaganda. I have to say, in conclusion to all that, I don't really know what's going to happen in November. It would surprise me if they allowed Trump to win. If they did allow him to win, I would question why they allowed him to win. Because there seems to be a lot of efforts ongoing to make sure that that doesn't happen. There is the thinking that they want him to win, maybe, or maybe they're able to change up their plans and have it work. I don't know. It just feels like they're either going to steal it for Kamala or there's going to be no outcome. Those are the two ways I'm leaning. I really don't know. Every man says, is there something with gators? You talking about on smoking gun? Maybe. There's, quite often there is a lot of gator stories on smoking gun. It's usually Florida man stories. Let me see what we got here. Shia LaBeouf, the Transformer star, was arrested. What is that for? Oh, it's celebrity mugshots. All right, so here's what we got with most popular today. We already did the woman busted for dildo battery, unless that's a different dildo battery story, which there are quite a bit of dildo battery stories on smoking gun. We have syringe sicko charged with squirting spree. That sounds pornographic. See, you hear syringe sicko and you think it's a guy, but then you hear squirting spree, and that sounds a little like a porno. Woman, again, busted. We got that one. And then we have pastor pleads to deep frying bid. That was an old one, unless that's another one. Another pastor threw boiling water on somebody. I know I covered that story, but how does a pastor get access to the deep frying pan? The library girl just got booked on felony drug rap in Texas. All right, so we'll try two of these. Sometimes they don't really pan out. We'll start off with syringe sicko with squirting spree and see if that's, any kind of story here. Hold on here. Sicko. Yeah, we'll go with the sicko. Get this over here. All right. Syringe sicko. Can you guys see that? Yeah, all right, here it is. There he is. Okay. September 19th. Meet Sean Arbery. U-R-I-B. I'll call him Sean. A leading candidate for Dirtbag of the Month. Oh, congratulations, Sean. In two separate incidents, cops allege Sean, 35, followed female victims around Miami, Florida department stores and used a, quote, medical syringe to squirt an unknown liquid on the buttocks of his targets. That's interesting. So he's in Miami. I would speculate there is a higher number of females walking around department stores in bathing suits in Miami. Maybe he wasn't squirting women who had bathing suits on, maybe of the thong nature. But to squirt someone on their buttocks with a syringe, you want to make sure they're going to feel it if you're trying to, impact them or get a reaction. You got a thick pair of jeans on, you're squirting with a syringe, they might not even feel it. I wonder how he chose his victims, is what I'm saying here. While brandishing the syringe in one hand, I've got a syringe, everybody down, pull out your butts. Sean was filming the vile acts with his cell phone. Oh my God. So he's holding a cell phone in one hand. He's like live streaming this. All right, I'm doing a live at Macy's. I've got my syringe full of maybe urine. Nobody really knows. and we're going to see how many bitches I can squirt in the ass. Everybody freeze! The number of people filming themselves committing crimes in 2024 has skyrocketed. People even think, this guy's thinking his whole time, what can I do to go viral? I got it. I'll get a syringe full of unknown liquid. I'll go to Macy's or wherever and squirt some bitches in the ass. That's going to get me TikTok famous. Never at any point in time going, maybe this is illegal to brandish a urine-filled needle. It looks like urine in the image. That's why I say urine. Maybe it's not urine. Maybe it's power juice. Maybe all of these women got superpowers afterwards. I don't know. Goes on to say, according to the police reports, Sean squirted a juvenile in late June at a Ross Dress for Less store. He went to Ross Dress for Less. Have you ever been to a Ross? Ross is a store, it's like a discount store, where it's like everybody who tries on a pair of clothes goes, I don't know if I want this, and they throw it on the ground. All the clothes are like laying on the ground, and there's these long racks of clothes on top of that, and every single clothing item, it says, was $250, now just $19.99. He went to a Ross Dress. In his defense, there's probably frequently people in Ross Dress for Less squirting people with syringes. The girl told cops that other shoppers alerted her that a man used a syringe to excrete an unknown liquid on her buttocks and began filming her. So she did not feel it. Some other people had to say, I don't know that that's the exact quote. I don't know that somebody came up to her and said, ma'am, someone excreted an unknown liquid on your buttocks and began filming you. But so somebody else saw him, and then told her. The suspect fled after witnesses contacted store employees. See, now that's interesting. If you're going to go into a Ross Dress for Less, armed or brandishing a syringe to squirt chicks in the asses with, I feel like you're not afraid of the store employees. There's not a lot of heavy security around there. I think that you're squirting them in the face with it, and you're continuing this mass squirting incident. The episode, which was captured by a store surveillance camera, left a liquid stain on the girl's jean shorts. She was wearing jean shorts. We've answered that question. Last month, cops began investigating a battery at a Marshall store that mirrored the June incident. So the guy is hitting these cheap-ass discount. Don't get me wrong, I've bought a lot of stuff from both those stores. That's how I know. Ross Dress for Less and Marshalls. He didn't even get up to Macy's. But he's a repeat attacker. He's a serial syringe brandisher. The male suspect approached a woman from behind and used a syringe to spray an unknown substance on the victim's left buttocks area. So he likes to target the left buttocks. The man who appeared to be recording the victim matched a physical description of the suspect in the earlier crime. Wait a minute. Oh, wait, excuse me. There's a comment there. The man who appeared to be recording, he was recording himself. Yeah. He matched, so that we know it was him the first time. And he was wearing an identical Miami Dolphins baseball cap. If you're going to go and do a repeat attack of a syringe liquid spraying at a discount clothing store at a Marshall's, Ross Dress for Less, syringe lubricated for free. If you're going to do that, wear a different hat. That's what I'm saying. Wear a different hat. Look at this guy. He looks very angry that he got caught. Poor guy. All he wanted to do was spray a few left buttocks, and he wanted to stream it. I mean, his YouTube channel is probably like left buttock spray. He's just trying to build up. The victim in the August 29th incident was in shock, I'm sure. And before she could confront the male, he walks away from her and out of the store. She could follow him. She later picked Sean out of the police photo lineup. That's the sprayer. Pictured above, Sean was arrested last week and charged with battery on a child. Oh, battery on a child? A felon a felony, 2 misdemeanor battery counts. So he sprayed an underage person, and a felony tampering with evidence charge. Sean posted bond yesterday and will be subject to house arrest. So he's only going to be able to spray people who come into his house at this point. A judge previously ordered him to stay away from the victims and the department stores. He has a restraining order against him, probably against Ross, Dress for Less, and Marshalls. You can't go within 150 feet of Marshalls. During a post-arrest interview, he reportedly confessed and said the liquid in the syringe was Cetaphil, a moisturizing lotion. Huh. He also claimed to have deleted all videos on his phone. He's just trying to moisturize that ass. It's not his fault somebody has a dry, flaky ass. While in custody, Sean was allowed to use his phone to call his father. During the conversation, which was recorded by police, he directed his dad to go to the family residence where he had been staying and remove his hard drives. Oh, no. I need you to go get them and fucking hide them. Put them under lock and key. All right, so this dude's a creep. He's like we already know he's a creep, but he's probably got some child porn or something. His father, however, arrived at the residence after a cop was dispatched to secure the property. A subsequent search of the home turned up the hard drives in the exact location where he explained to his father, yeah, maybe don't reveal where your evidence of criminality is on your one phone call. Investigators also seized 3 medical syringes containing a viscous white liquid consistent, viscous, excuse me, I can't read half the time. White liquid consistent with that of semen. Oh, so it wasn't actually Cetaphil lotion. They also removed clothing and other potential forensic evidence. The contents of the confiscated hard drives are being reviewed by police and could result in additional charges. So this guy had jizz in syringes, but he didn't just have one syringe jizz. He had a stash of syringe jizzes that he had. So he's like, I need to make like 24, 36 syringe jizzes, whack it in the container, put it there. And he also had an explanation in case he got caught. In case I get caught trying to spray syringe jizz on women who are just shopping at Ross, Dress for Less and Marshalls, it's going to be Cetaphil lotion. Nobody will know the difference. This is a twisted person. How much he thought through this is what's truly disgusting. And the effort to masturbate into a bunch of syringes. This is a pre-plan. This is first degree jizz syringing in discount department stores. Any baby's mamas yet? I don't know. It's a good question, everyman. A victimless crime? Maybe. Well, serial squirter, as Sonia says. I have to say, if somebody sprayed some jizz out of a syringe and it hit me in the pants, I would feel assaulted, personally. So what are you doing with a syringe full of jizz? How did you even do that? Did you have sex with a syringe? Did you stick your penis in the syringe? It's a very tiny syringe. Women of reproductive age, maybe. What's up, Tony? I'm going to look at the police report, see if there's any different info on here. Sometimes they include stuff, or they don't include stuff in the actual this article. That's a source document there. Is that it? Just one pager? It's a one pager. No, it's a 3-pager. Where's the other pages? Here's what it says on page 1. At 1 p.m. So he did this just after lunch. Is that the best time for a syringe jizz attack? They were dispatched to a Ross Dress for Less department store in reference to a battery. They said that he made contact with a juvenile with a syringe. The victim advised that while shopping, she was notified by other shoppers, so we got all that. That a male used a medical syringe in order to excrete an unknown liquid onto her buttocks. Who comes up with this? What made this guy have this idea? I want to see that moment where the light bulb goes off and he goes, I got it. I'll get some medical syringes. I'll masturbate into them. And then I'll go to Ross Dress for Less and see if I can get bitches pregnant. When did this idea happen? What was, I want to know what he was hoping for. Was he hoping they would like it? Nobody's ever sprayed jizz on me from a syringe before. Take me to dinner, which would probably be at McDonald's or Taco Bell. Filming her, the shoppers identified the witness. Blah, blah, blah. It's all the same stuff. So the guy took images of her. Wait, what? The investigator completed a need to identify flyer, which still had images of the subject obtained by the reporting officers. What does that mean? This poor girl, it says, while on scene, the responding officers observed a liquid stain on the buttocks area of the victim's jean shorts. So you got all these cops going, let me get a look at your jean shorts. If you could just put that ass up. Guys, come over here. I think we need to get a few other guys to come look at this stain. Could you get forensics in here? We need to check out this stain on the left buttocks of the jean shorts. So it's like this person was assaulted multiple times almost. Not saying the cops assaulted her, but having to have your ass cheek looked at for God knows how long. There was surveillance footage which captured the incident. All right, I don't see anything new on here. Probable call. Nope, nothing. Where's the syringe part? Wait a minute. Okay, so here they say the search warrant was procured and executed, and while conducting a search, the investigator, along with investigators from the MDPD, located 3 medical syringes containing a white liquid consistent with that of semen. So he had 3 semen-ready syringes. You know, always have 3 semen-ready syringes before you go to Ross Dress for Less. They were in the bedroom, along with a pair of khaki shorts, a dark T-shirt, consistent with the one he wore. So he's got an outfit. He wears the same hat, same T-shirt, and he just grabs a syringe, and he goes out squirting. Interesting. Very interesting. Talk about your micro. Yeah, if he was having sex with those syringes, that's got to be a micro penis, definitely. But those jeans, though, those jean shorts might be pregnant at this point. All right. Screw it. We'll do one more. You hang around for it, you hang around. Just because this girl, I don't know if she is related to this crime, but we have a library incident here. This is a female related. We have a female offender this time. And this story, the headline is Library Girl Just Booked on Felony Drug Rap. Library Girl. There's Library Girl on screen. I'm sure the officers had no problem handcuffing her. Very voluptuous. You are watching. Library Girl just got booked. Oh, wait, who is this? It says Kendra Sutherland, whose solo exploits in an Orange County, Oregon State University library helped launch her porn career. This is a porn actress? She was arrested last week on a drug felony charge in Texas. Oh. She was busted Thursday afternoon while driving on Interstate 45. She was behind the wheel of a 2013 Lexus. She was nabbed for possession of a controlled substance, which is marijuana. I see that's bullshit. She's listed in police records as a Las Vegas restaurant. There's her mugshot. She shot to fame in 2015 after shooting a 31-minute webcam performance inside Ohio State's library, which found its way to the internet. It showed her exposing her breast and vagina, and playing with herself, and licking herself while in the library. Okay. She said she attended. So this is a little bit of a bait and switch here. I don't mean to show. This girl happens to be somebody who is like a porn star, I guess, and they arrested her for marijuana charges. See, that's a bullshit charge. That's bullshit. Busted. Nah. Dude, so anybody, you think the cops recognized her? You think the cops like pulled this chick over and they all are like, oh my gosh, who is, I don't know who this is. Like if it's male cops, I wonder if they recognized her. I'm just speculating. And that maybe increased the possibility that she was arrested. People can get pulled over for marijuana, and sometimes the cops, depending on if they're okay, they'll let them go. They won't arrest them, maybe. Maybe they get a ticket. Or maybe they have someone come pick them up. I wonder if knowing who she was might have made it increased. OnlyFans, is that where she is? Increased the likelihood that she got arrested. So her arrest to me, definitely not as much of a crime against society as having sex with, some needles and then taking those and going to shoot semen on random shoppers at Ross Dress for Less. I think that first guy we went through is the real asshole in today's show. Thanks for hanging out, guys. What's up, JC? Hope you guys are having a good Saturday night. And I appreciate y'all hanging out, talking with me. If you want to help the show, share it. Share it with your friends. If you're listening on audio, next time you listen, just let the ads play through. We don't get anything if the ads are skipped. Ads have never affected what I talk about. In fact, we don't get that many ads anymore probably because of what we talk about. But nevertheless, it helps if you let them play through. You can subscribe on Patreon at patreon.com/propaganda report. Leave a 5-star review with a message that warms my heart. Or like I said, just share with friends. I always appreciate it. Or hang out and chat. You guys always have awesome comments. You crack me up. And you give me great information and stuff. So I appreciate it. And we'll do it again definitely next week. Thank you, JC. And maybe tomorrow night. We'll see how things go. Propagandafight.com is the website. And at Freedom Act Radio on Twitter. YouTube.com/Brad Binkley, where you can go and see all of my demonetized and often removed shows. I just had a 3-year-old show removed from YouTube 2 days ago. Actually, 4-year-old show, excuse me. 4 years the show has been on there. It was an interview with Dan Fogler where we talked about the lockdown, the actor Dan Fogler, and the pandemic. And they took it down 4 years later because that's what they do leading up to the election. They start clamping down, and so you can go to youtube.com, Brad Binkley, and see all the videos that will be removed in 3 or 4 years. Or Rockfin, Propaganda Report, or Rumble / Prop Report. All right, guys. You guys have a fantastic Saturday. We'll talk to you next time. I agree, J-Dub. That video, I think I just saw that a little bit later. But that video or that appearance of Kamala with Oprah was a disaster. You're right. What's up, Zipperman? Good to see you, even if it's last minute. Thank you, Sonia. I appreciate it. Thank you for your support. You're very supportive. I appreciate that greatly. You guys have a fantastic rest of your weekend. See you guys later.